Hey everybody, I bet you didn't think I was going to pop up today, but yes, because I have something that I want to talk to y'all about. Something I want to chit chat about. Something that came across my timeline maybe about 2 days ago, and I haven't had the opportunity to squeeze it into my podcast. So this is what these pop-ups are all about, talking about stuff that I can't seem to squeeze into my podcast. And this one is a interesting one. When it came across my timeline, I said, I got to discuss it. And we all know what a hot topic this particular topic is. And it's about Thomas Kingston. Now, we all know it's a whole lot of different theories about what happened to him. And one of them is well, I'm not even going to say because y'all already know, because somehow somebody had a mark on his neck the next day and did not show up for his uncle's memorial. And a lot of speculation has been around that. And why this man, who seemed to have had it all, a beautiful wife, a great career, why would he absolutely do this? And we all know from what we have read, his family has always said he always has been a happy person. And this unaliving of himself came as a shock to everybody. And so when I saw this, I said, I just got to share. I got to share. I got to take a few minutes for us to chit chat about it. And I'm going to put it up. This particular squatty posted this. Like I said, it's been maybe 2 days ago, but I just hadn't been able to get to it. And it says, the title is telling. And what is the title? Drugs that Lady Gabrielle Kingston's husband Thomas took in the lead up to his death had been flagged 40 times by coroners. So this medication that they're saying contributed to his death was flagged 40 times by coroners, saying that other people had resulted in, well, taking this medication had resulted in other people unaliving themselves. Well, my question to that is, why was he subscribed this? Why was he prescribed this particular medication? And from what I have, and we're going to get a little bit into the article, this particular article, a little later in this pop-up. But that's my question. Why would he be prescribed something like this that has been proven and reported as problematic? I'm just saying. But yes, it had been flagged 40 times by coroners. But wait a minute. Wait a minute. It even gets even more interesting. Let me put this up. Look at here. Look what this squatty said. And I went and found the article, and yes, it's true. He was prescribed this medication by Buckingham Palace doctors. Yes. And like I said, I am not saying that, it has anything to do with the royal family, but I'm just saying that it's interesting. It is just very interesting. I am not going to pretend like I know what happened, and I'm not going to pretend like I know a lot about this particular case because I have not been following the inquest. All I am talking about is what has come across my timeline. Now, this particular squatty said this. What in the actual effing HE double hockey sticks? A Buckingham Palace doctor prescribed the medication for Thomas Kingston? Yes, he did. And it had been flagged 40 times prior to them prescribing it to him. But they did it anyway. He was on 2 antidepressant medication, anti-anxiety, and he was on a sleeping medication. And they prescribed it all together. And this squatter goes on to say, who later took his own life because of side effects. Side effects, they say, because we all know, we learned from the inquest that, and the coroner's report, that he didn't have any of this in his system when he died. All he had was remnants, a small remnants of the sleeping medication. None of the antidepressants or anti-anxiety medication. And we know because of the inquest, he had stopped taking them to the point where it had gotten out of his system. Now, I know a little bit about antidepressants and anti-anxiety medication. I know in order to get its full effects, it takes 2 weeks. And for it to get out of your system, it takes 2 weeks. But from what I understand, it seems like it's some wiggle room in there that it hadn't even been 2 weeks. So when the coroner, he hadn't quit that long from taking the medication. And if it was under 2 weeks, he should have had some of that in his system. Some of that medication should have still been in his system. Now, I'm just saying, I'm not saying that I know for sure. This is us speculating and trying to understand what is going on here. And I'm not saying anything except it is interesting and very, very suspicious. And this squatter goes on to say, what the F? And they wanted Megan to give birth to Archie with these verified doctors managing her care. Exactly. Y'all remember they wanted Megan to be under these doctors? And my whole thing is, that's kind of funny too, isn't it? They didn't want to give her any help for her mental health, but they wanted to absolutely control her birth, her physical health when it was around Archie. Like I said in my prior podcast, I would not trust anything that's coming out of Buckingham Palace or Kensington Palace when it comes to Harry and Meghan, and seem like nobody else, because this man was going to those doctors. He was. And it is them that prescribe this medication. But my whole thing is, the weird thing to me is, they prescribed the medication. It was flagged 40 times by coroners as, a reason that they suspected other people had unalived themselves. They went ahead on and prescribed it anyway, but it wasn't even in his system at the time where he took his life. It's all so weird. It is, but I tell you what, even though they having an inquest, which I think is absolutely a victory within itself, because it seems like it's some people trying to squash all this. Because when you just start looking at it, none of it makes any sense. I went and found the article, and here's the article. It says drugs that Lady Gabrielle Kingston's husband Thomas took in lead up to his death had been flagged 40 times by coroners. And then they go into saying that these was antidepressants, and they are saying that they are going to contribute his death to these antidepressants that he didn't even have in his system at the time of his death. How can something be a cause of your death when it's not even in your system? He only had the sleeping medication in his system. And they said, it was no indication. His complaint, now this is what it said in the article. His complaint was anxiety. It says, I'm going to read a little bit of it. It says, an inquest into the death last month was told that 45-year-old took his own life after being prescribed the 2 antidepressant medications for anxiety by Buckingham Palace doctor. Yes, the drug known as SSRI, and then they kind of go into that and say it is a prime choice. It is the choice of the the NHS, and it's for anxiety and depression. And but it also notes that he didn't have it in his system. So I'm gonna pose that question to y'all. How can something be the cause of your death and it's not in your system? That's kind of like saying, I hadn't. Well, I'm just throwing it out there because I'm not gonna pretend like I know a lot about these drugs. I'm not saying that. And it might be someone who is a part of our tribe that knows more. And please, please let me know in the comments. But it just seemed weird to me that you can contribute somebody's death to a drug that is not in their system. And how can you continue to have side effects from a drug that's not in your system? I'm just saying. It just weird to me. Weird, weird, weird. And his parents, I think they were at the inquest, or their statement was that it was nothing out of the ordinary for them. They had had a meal, and his dad found him out there in the shed. Well, I don't think they have sheds. We call them sheds here where I live in the South. But a house from the main house. Yes. So it is weird. If you know more about what's going on here, talk about it in the comments. But all I'm saying is, I'm just bringing it to the front that I find it very, very, I'm going to just say what I found very, very weird. I find it very, very weird that he was prescribed this medication in the first place after it had been flagged 40 times. I find it weird that the one that prescribed the medication is Buckingham Palace doctor. They said a doctor. And I also find it weird that they're contributing this to his death and the actual medication was not in his system. How can you have a side effect from a drug that's not in your system? That's all I'm putting out there. And we all know, we have all heard the rumors, what it might be a reason or motivation for someone to, uh, how can I put this diplomatically? That, it would be in other people's best interest if this person was not around. I'm just saying. Um, Close to, my little, y'all know my little term I said, Diana. It might, I'm not saying he was Diana, but I'm saying it's a possibility. It definitely, everything I have read has not ruled it out. It hadn't ruled it in, but it hadn't ruled it out either. Y'all tell me what y'all think. I had to come and discuss because this is what we cover in pop-ups. All right, y'all. Bye. Hey, y'all, don't forget the podcast coming up, because the podcast is coming up. This is just a pop-up. Bye.